And hello everyone, welcome to our new episode of AustCham TV. Coming up in this episode, we have one of our AustCham directors here looking at both the challenges and of course the opportunities to market entry into Thailand. We have a sleep specialist joining us from Bangkok Hospital, and we preview one of Thailand's biggest charity golf days, the Convoy for Kids. Stay with us. Welcome back. In our connection section this month, we welcome one of our long-term gold sponsors with AustCham Thailand. I'm delighted to welcome back to the program, Dr. J, sleep specialist. Dr. J, so nice to have you here, and I'm very interested in hearing about this topic. I have to tell you, I haven't been sleeping that well the past couple of weeks especially.
Yeah. Well, happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Excellent. So I guess the nature of what we're going to be talking about, sleep, it's such a basic thing. We all do it every day, every night. But there's constant evolving theories and research around sleep patterns, how we should sleep better. Let's start with that. Can you tell us how modern research, etc., has evolved in the last 5 to 10 years?
Definitely. Well, you know, sleep used to be simple thing, maybe optional for some people.
Right.
But these days, with the longevity society, I have to say, sleep has become mandatory. Well, it's much more recognized these days as a biological maintenance for like everyone. So, you know, people focus more on sleep quality, sleep problems, and there are multiple researches, studies that have shown impact of sleep on health. 4 main categories of the health that sleep makes huge impact on are brain health, cardiovascular health, metabolic health, and immune system. Right. Yeah, so for example, brain health. People who has memory issues or mood instability or cognitive impairment, actually a lot of those comes from poor sleep. Right. Cardiovascular health like hypertension or abnormal heart rhythm and heart attack also is related to sleep disorders. Okay. Metabolic health like insulin resistance, diabetes, high cholesterol, you know, all these are related to poor sleep. Okay. And last but not least, your immune system. So good sleep is important for your cytokines, for your antibody to function. So if you have bad sleep, poor sleep, or inadequate sleep, then you have bad immune system.
Right. And as you mentioned at the beginning, it's something we actually consider to be quite simple and probably something we take for granted, but we don't consider all of the consequences of bad sleep, as you just mentioned then. So what are some of the biggest challenges we're seeing then with sleep? It should be so simple, but there are a lot of challenges around it. What are the biggest challenges of, say, the past 10 years?
Well, common things are common. You know, I think majority of sleep problems that we see in our clinic would be sleep apnea, when people, you know, stop breathing when they go to sleep. They don't get enough oxygen. They have, even though they sleep for long hours, they feel tired because they have micro awakening as a result of a period of stop breathing. However, you know, with the advancement of technology these days, I have to say that we have more and more sleep problem because the world are all connected, like with the social medias, with the internet. So people are more, I would have to say, accessible, and it's harder for them to disconnect, to pause, or to relax. It causes insomnia because they cannot shut down at night.
It's difficult when you've got your phone next to your bed and the email notification keeps going off all night, if you allow that, of course. Right. Yeah. So I think our audience will be interested, being the AustCham Thailand audience. It's a large expat community as well. So do you see any specific issues or challenges for expats who are living abroad in places like Bangkok and Thailand in general?
So besides the common issues that I mentioned, well, for expat, you know, with the stress that they have to be away from home, away from the family, they also might be like different in time zone, you know, when they have to stay awake to talk with their friends and family. They may have to travel frequently with the jet lag and everything. So those problems we do see in expat community.
Right. Interestingly, our next guest was just telling me he just got back from Europe, that he hasn't been sleeping well because of jet lag,
Right,
of course.
right.
That's certainly one part. I'm also curious, a lot of people often think that sleep problems are physical, and I guess even linked to things like drinking. People say, oh, I had a coffee in the afternoon. So how much of it's actually physical and how much is it mental? You're just telling yourself you can't sleep?
Yeah, I mean, it can be physical, like when we're sick, when we have infection or, you know, certain medical conditions, definitely our sleep will be more difficult. But yeah, mental has strong relationship with sleep as well. For example, when you're in stress, when you're anxious about something, when you're excited about things that are going to happen the next day, of course, that night you're going to be like sleepless.
Like
know?
appearing on AustCham TV the next day, maybe
Yeah,
you
I
didn't
didn't
sleep
sleep
so well
well
last night. Okay. Speaking of nervousness then, I have heard of a term called sleep anxiety. So from a basic view, does that mean you're afraid to sleep, or how does that work?
Yeah, kind of. Well, sleep anxiety is actually the fear or the anxiety about poor sleep quality, meaning that you are afraid that you're going to get bad sleep.
Right.
You're afraid that, hey, tomorrow you're going to get, you know, you're going to be tired because you're not sleeping tonight. And the more you're afraid, the harder it gets for you to fall asleep. So it's like a vicious cycle. You're afraid to fall asleep, you don't fall asleep, and you're afraid that you're going to be tired, and then, yeah, it goes on like this.
So that's that laying in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing that I get up at, say, 5 a.m. I need to be up in 3 hours. I need this 3 hours sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm, I guess, putting too much pressure on myself to
and
get to sleep.
The more you try, the harder it gets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's sleep anxiety.
Right.
One thing I also try to do, and I'm really conscious of it, is get 8 hours sleep. If I'm waking up at 5, I like to be in bed by 9. That's a habit I have. And I guess I've just always thought 8 hours is a magic number. So while I have you here, is that correct? Is 8 hours a magic number?
It kind of is. Well, the number 8 comes from multiple studies that, you know, look at relationship between the duration of sleep and mortality rate.
Right.
And the result showed like a U-shaped curve, meaning people who sleep less than 6 or 7 hours and people who sleep more than 9 hours tend to have higher mortality rate.
Right.
So the good amount would be 7 to 8 hours, and that's why the recommendation is 7 to 8 hours.
So people who have more than 9
has higher mortality rate.
So when my kids are in bed for more than 9 hours, I'm perfectly okay to go, hey, wake up.
Well, you know, for those people, it might be the catch up, or they are paying for sleep debt.
Right.
Like during the weekdays, if you sleep 6 hours, you might catch up over the weekends.
Okay. Or my kids, they might just be lazy. But moving on. So we're looking at 8 hours. It's a follow-up question to that is, what is more important than that number of hours sleep or the quality of sleep, how well you actually sleep?
Yeah, well, the recommendation of 7 to 8 hours is 7 to 8 hours of good quality of sleep, meaning that we have to make sure that in those 8 hours, you don't have any other sleep disorders or conditions that will interrupt your sleep. Right. In other words, you know, it doesn't matter how long you sleep for if those hours are poor quality.
Okay. Can we move on to sleep medicine? So it's really interesting that we started with the conversation with it's something so simple, but something we really need to be paying a lot of attention to, and like every part of our body and the way we live, really maximising the best of it through modern day medicine. So how has sleep medicine evolved to today?
Well, with the advancement of the technology that I mentioned, both diagnosis and treatment are evolving. For example, for the diagnosis part, we have developed a lot of home device, like home sleep tests, or even the wearable device that people wear, like watches and like, Fitbit, or can I say the brand? Or,
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, well, to be fair, since I mentioned both of them,
Right.
People get more information more easily. However, I mean, these things are more like screening. So it makes people it creates awareness for people that, hey, why your sleep score is bad. Then you start asking yourself questions.
Right.
And then eventually it might be the thing to actually trigger you to go to the doctor and get evaluated.
Okay.
For the treatment part, of course, CPAP is a big thing for sleep apnea treatment. And people struggle to get kind of familiar or used to the machine. We have more and more advanced kind of machine that is more comfortable or tolerable for the patient.
Right.
We have portable machine that people can travel with, and like medication-wise, for insomnia patient, we have newer generation of the medication that is like more effective, safer, less addictive for the patient.
Okay. We do have some members through AustCham who I've spoken to before at events, etc., who I can say advocate for Bangkok Hospital and what you do, because particularly those who travel who say they do have those machines and taking them with them as well. So you certainly have some good advocates within the community already. Every interview we do now, obviously we touch on the topic of AI and how that's changing the world. So in terms of sleep medicine and the advancements you're seeing, what role is AI playing in that?
Definitely, like all these wearable devices are a big thing because they have this like a counselor that you can, subscribe, and they would kind of let you know how well you recovered the night before, something like that. So AI thing is playing big roles in terms of evaluating sleep quality through this wearable device.
Okay. So with the watches that we have and the devices we're using, like it's a follow-up question to every AI question as well, where do they fall short? Because it's not perfect.
Right. Like, as I mentioned, that these things are more like for screening.
Right.
In terms of, based on the studies, their accuracy for sleep hours is very good, actually. It can tell how long you sleep for.
Right.
But in terms of the sleep quality itself, for example, like how much deep sleep you have, how much REM sleep you have, the accuracy is only about 60 to 70%. So I have to say, as a sleep doctor, I get a lot of questions when people come in to see me and they would show me their phone and they open their app and, hey, why do I only get like half an hour of deep sleep? I have to say that, I try to like tell them like, hey, don't be too serious or fixated about it because it's not very accurate. But yes, if you do feel tired during the day, even though you have 8 hours of sleep, then that might mean something, that maybe you really don't have enough deep sleep or you have some hidden sleep disorders, and we should maybe bring you in for a sleep study in the hospital to get a more detailed evaluation. Well, one thing I want to mention, there's a word called orthosomnia.
Orthosomnia.
Orthosomnia, yeah, which is actually, it's an unhealthy fixation about your sleep score or sleep quality through wearable device.
People always, every morning, staring at it.
Yeah, and this thing will just happen after we have all these wearable devices.
Right. So like everything with AI, which a lot of our guests who touch on the same topic don't take it as gospel. Obviously, if it relates to anything to do with medicine, go and speak to a doctor. Don't rely on the app. And, I asked a question about, is 8 hours the magic number? Because I've always been curious. So based on that, I actually just made a little list of other things that I've learnt, and I'm going to just run through them and ask you, is this a myth or is this fact? And get you to clarify a few things for me today. So let's start with number one. And you actually mentioned it before when I brought up my kids. My kids, they're in their 20s now, but they're still the same habits. If you lose sleep during the week, can you catch up with it on the weekend? Is it okay to do 5-6 hours sleep during the week because you're busy and then have naps on Saturday, Sunday afternoon or sleep in, etc.?
Okay. Well, ideally, if you can get 8 hours a night, like every night, that's perfect.
Right.
But if you have busy schedule that you really cannot get enough amount during the weekdays or on the busy days, catching up over the weekends or whenever you can is definitely okay, and that's actually good to do.
Okay, that's good, because I'm actually a Sunday afternoon nap fan myself.
Well, just a quick tip. If you're going to do a nap in the afternoon, it's suggested not to do it for longer than 30 or 40 minutes.
Okay.
Because that's before you're going to enter deep sleep.
Right.
And if you actually enter deep sleep during nap and then you get waken up from deep sleep, you're going to have what is called sleep inertia, meaning that you will feel kind of groggy and maybe have headache and feel kind of like not really fresh after the nap.
Exactly right. That's exactly what I get if I sleep over an hour in one afternoon nap. So a little alarm need to be set there. Myth number 2, and another one that applies to me, I'll have to be honest, does alcohol help you sleep better? Do a couple of beers a night?
I think you know the answer.
I do.
Well,
can you validate the answer for me on screen so that I don't?
Well, it does make it easier for you to fall asleep because it's like you feel like a little woozy and then you can go to sleep more easily. But it doesn't help with sleep maintenance, meaning that you will fall asleep, but then after a few hours you will wake up. And even if you don't wake up, it suppresses your REM sleep. So in other words, that night's sleep is not going to be a good quality kind of sleep.
So thank you for clarifying that. I'll stop trying to kid myself. What about snoring? Is snoring okay? Is it harmless? Is it something we should get checked?
Well, yes and no. Well, depends. Harmful to who? Because if you snore, it's already harmful to your bed partner because that person is not going to get a good sleep because they can't be waking up. However, snoring is the symptom or presentation of sleep apnea. People can snore, but whether or not they also stop breathing, and that needs to be evaluated, like meaning doing a sleep test. If they have sleep apnea, the effect that it can happen is, they have poor oxygenation during the night. They don't get a good quality of sleep because their brain is like activated from stop breathing episode. So they will have tiredness, sleepiness during the day. They cannot function well. Their cognitive function will not be 100% during the day. Also, in terms of cardiovascular system, they don't have enough oxygen. They put the body in stress overnight. So they have higher cortisol level. They get insulin resistance. So these patients, if they don't know they have sleep apnea, they don't get treated, they can end up having uncontrolled high blood pressure, heart problem, diabetes, so a lot of things can occur.
So if snoring, definitely get that looked into.
Right.
This, I think, a lot of couples in particular would argue over this next one. I'm sure some are saying, I need this to help me sleep, and others would go, I wish you would turn it off. Does watching TV help you fall asleep?
No. Well, it may be if that show is like very boring. But, in our retina or eyes, we have like, light receptor. And that thing is going to suppress your melatonin release. Meaning that if you get some certain light, like from the screen, from the TV, even from your phone, from your iPad, your melatonin level is going to be suppressed. And it's going to be more difficult for you to doze off.
So that's another one like alcohol. You're kidding yourself for your own benefit, I think. And the final one, and I guess this could also apply to me maybe in a couple of years, not yet. For people who feel tired every day, is that just because you're getting older, or is that sleep related? Or
I hate the word old, like there's no such thing as
I don't know what it means either.
But if you get tired every day, you have to maybe stop and think and evaluate yourself, whether is it something that you do during the day, like is it you exercise too much or you don't exercise,
right.
or is it about your sleep? How do you feel when you wake up? Do you feel fresh? Do you feel like ready to go in the morning? Like after, of course, long hours of sleep.
Right.
But if the answer is no, then maybe getting your sleep evaluated is the way to go.
Right. So sleep evaluation, if you're not getting the results, I guess, if you feel like I'm doing my 8 hours, I'm checking my watch, etc., but I'm still not waking up ready to attack the day,
right.
It's best to go in and get an evaluation and see, are you actually getting that good sleep, and then proper medical advice on how you could actually achieve that good sleep.
Right.
We spend, if it's 8 hours a day, that's a third of our lives doing this activity, so it really does make sense to pay very close attention to getting it right. Good. Well, Dr. J, fascinating. Thank you for clarifying a few things. Thank you for the information provided. I'm a big fan of sleep, and I certainly want to get it right every night as well if I can. So really appreciate your time today.
My
and
pleasure.
Of course representing our gold sponsor Bangkok Hospital, not only on this program but one of our great supporters at AustCham. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us today.
Good, thank you. Welcome back. For our business section today, we're going to look at market entry into Thailand. Navigating market entry into Thailand isn't always interesting. There are certainly bumps in the road. But if you meet the right people, especially through communities like AustCham Thailand, it can be made easier for you. And with that, I'm joined by one of my fellow AustCham directors, Chris Osborne. Chris, how are you?
Well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Chris, coming into Thailand, setting up a business, there are certainly challenges. We're looking at the Foreign Business Act, we're looking at opportunities through the BOI, etc. I think as a business coming in, it can certainly be daunting, but if you reach out to the community in AustCham Thailand, we can help.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think Australian companies looking to expand overseas anywhere are going to be faced with different laws. Each country has their own requirements for business. Thailand's no exception. And I think for many Australian companies, the single most important piece of legislation for them to consider before they invest in Thailand, before they start a business in Thailand, is the Foreign Business Act.
Right. Agree. So let's start with the FBA. For businesses coming in, what do they need to know about it from the beginning?
Right, okay, so from the beginning, this piece of legislation has been around since 1999, so late last century. It hasn't changed much.
Right.
There's been a call for reform even by the Thai government, but it's not clear when that will happen. So at the moment, the Foreign Business Act does impose restrictions on, I guess, businesses conducted by foreigners in Thailand. And it does that by setting out two categories of business activities. One category is completely restricted to foreign companies. They can't engage in those businesses at all. The other category can be engaged in by foreign companies, but they need various levels of approval to do that. And there are penalties for not getting that right. And the way that the Act is implemented is that it starts off with a definition of what a foreigner is. And that would include foreign nationals. It would include companies incorporated overseas, and it also includes Thai companies formed in Thailand in which foreigners own 50% or more of the shares. So in other words, an Australian company or a majority Australian-owned Thai company would be a foreigner and would be subject to the restrictions in that Act.
Okay. And so part of setting up a company, and I think one area that can often cause confusion is around the Thai shareholder aspect and the nominees. So what should foreign business owners be aware of in terms of setting up a company with the majority Thai shareholder?
This is a really good point because there are various different ways of looking at it. I think there was a perception that obtaining foreign business approvals was difficult. That's not always correct. We could talk about that later, but I think there was a certain mindset that figured out that the best way of dealing with the Foreign Business Act was to set up a company that wasn't a foreigner, in the belief, mistaken, that the Foreign Business Act would not apply at all. So if you look at how the definition of foreigner is set up, it only applies to the shareholding. It doesn't look at the control over the company. So it's relatively straightforward to set up a company that is not regarded as a foreigner with a view to bypassing the Foreign Business Act. And that is probably the biggest misunderstanding of how the Act works, because there was an industry that encouraged people to set up a company this way, like with a 49% foreign shareholding, 51% Thai shareholding, simply to bypass the requirements of the Act. And it was quite common for the shareholders to be maids, drivers, people with no economic substance. And in theory, that company that they set up was not a foreigner, so it did not need a foreign business license. And it was the quickest way of getting to market, it was the cheapest way of getting to market, so I can understand the appeal. The problem was that it didn't really take on board the anti-avoidance provisions in Section 36 of the Act. And those anti-avoidance provisions do actually have some pretty onerous implications for breach. That includes 3 years imprisonment, it includes a penalty of 1 million baht. And it also, it expressly prohibits a Thai national from acting as a nominee, holding shares on behalf of a foreigner. It doesn't actually define what a nominee is. But if you look at general principles, if you've got a Thai shareholder that could not possibly afford to pay for their shares and they don't receive any dividends, it's difficult to come to any conclusion other than they must be holding it as a nominee. Right. And this is catching a lot of companies by surprise, because they set up these companies thinking that the concept of a foreign company is measured only by shares held, not by control, and that's correct. But the nominee test is different. So there's a sting in the tail there.
So it is it's in the news at the moment, and we do have members asking us these questions around the current government push. Crackdown is the term on the nominees. Do you have any advice, or can you let our members know exactly how they should be organising or structuring their company so that they're not under the potential to be part of that crackdown?
I think they need to take this crackdown quite seriously. 10 years ago, I think people were pretty relaxed about it. There wasn't that much enforcement. It's ramped up in recent years. And from what we're seeing, it will continue. Right. It's not just an overnight sensation. It's here for a while. And it will move from one location to another. It will move from one business to another. The Thai government is becoming more and more connected. They've got some pretty sophisticated software that can actually look at various companies by shareholder, by sector, by geography. And so they can basically have campaigns. Right. And focus their resources on one province for one business sector. And I think for anyone that is subject to an investigation, they need to take it seriously and think about ways that they can actually get their structure in shape if there are problems. Right. And to verify what steps they've taken to actually make it legitimate in the first place.
So I guess for any members out there who may have this concern, obviously to seek the correct advice on what they should be doing. Looking at new businesses come in, what pathways should they be looking at, either through the Foreign Business Act or BOI, in order to make sure that they are setting up correctly and legitimately here?
I think it's an excellent question. I mean, we've always thought that, no one likes talking to lawyers or legal advisors, I get it, but if there's a time that you want to have legal advice, we think it's the time that you set up a business. Right. That way you can focus on running the business rather than focusing on compliance. Get the basics right and then focus on building what you're there to do in the first place. The BOI is a very, very useful avenue for companies to look at. But I just wanted to sort of talk about pathways through the Foreign Business Act first, because it's not an insurmountable object.
Right.
You know, there are ways of getting licenses under the Foreign Business Act, and actually in some cases there are, I guess, carve-outs and exclusions from the Foreign Business Act. So for example, hotel management. You know, that is not a regulated activity. You do not need a foreign business license to engage in that. There are a couple of other activities as well that are expressly carved out. So retail and wholesale, if you have a paid up capital exceeding 1 million baht, that doesn't work for everyone. But in some cases, if you've got enough cash, then that could actually be a good way of looking at it. So there are some types of businesses that won't necessarily require approval under the Foreign Business Act. So it's worth time just looking at what your activity is and figuring out whether you're actually eligible for one of those activities. The next approach would be to look at the likelihood of getting a foreign business license. And again, this depends on whether or not you have the benefit of something like the BOI, or whether you are looking for the performance of a specific contract. So we see a lot of engineering companies or construction companies coming in that want to perform one contract. That's a good chance that they'll actually get a foreign business certificate for that. If they want to set up a construction company and just provide construction services at large, they need a foreign business license, and that's a little bit harder. But a foreign business certificate, on the other hand, more certainty, less delay. So I think the first port of call is to figure out whether or not you can actually address the business that you're looking at within the remit of the Foreign Business Act.
Right.
But you mentioned BOI.
Right.
And I think it should be mandatory for any company coming into Thailand to consider whether they can get BOI approval.
Speak with the BOI. Well, how can they help then? Why should companies consider the BOI? How do they help with ownership, land use, work permits, tax incentives, etc.?
There are quite a few ways that the BOI can help. The benefits tend to be financial and legal.
Right.
The financial benefits that the BOI provides include income tax holidays. I mean, everyone's favorite rate of income tax, 0%.
Yes.
What's not to like about that? You can have a tax holiday from 5 up to 8 years, depending on what business you're in. Not always available, but for many industries it is available. Also, exemption from customs duty. One thing that we typically hear is that there are a number of friction points with Thai customs, and having BOI approval can remove a lot of that friction, and again reduce the amount of import duty paid. So from a financial perspective, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
If you can get BOI approval, you want it. But from a legal perspective, there are some very strong advantages for foreign companies. The first one of those would be the ability to have majority foreign ownership and be entitled to apply for a foreign business certificate. So you get your approval under the foreign business license with a high degree of certainty. And the other one is the ability to own land as a majority foreign-owned company.
Right.
If you don't have BOI approval, the avenues for land ownership in Thailand can be quite limited for a foreign company. So BOI is probably the first port of call. I think if you look at the BOI's objectives to encourage investment, to progress the Thai economy, having regard to the nation's objectives, it's not a static list.
Right.
The categories that are available for BOI approval change from one year to the next. And it started out with pretty straightforward manufacturing, and now they're looking to value-added categories.
They have the 12 industries that they're focused on.
Absolutely, and so they have a very clear view of where they see Thailand being, 5-10 years from now, and so we'd expect to see the categories progressing over time. But I would say to any company considering setting up business in Thailand to look at the BOI website,
Right.
look at the approved categories. They're in English, they're very clearly set out, and to take a view on whether or not that business could actually be eligible for BOI approval.
Right.
Because again, I think if there's any reasonable chance that you would be eligible for BOI exemption, you'd be mad not to have it. There's some very convenient trappings as well, like fast track entry at the airport.
Yes.
For international flights, it's a lot easier to get expat employees, experts, foreign work permits. it makes life a lot easier just to run the company.
Right. So with that in mind, you mentioned about manufacturing as a key point. We often think BOI, advanced manufacturing. We had John Anderson on a previous episode talking about the data center boom. What other industries are we talking about that could access the BOI, because we're thinking it's manufacturing, data centers, but there's a whole range of different industries that can access?
It's quite broad. Healthcare, advanced agricultural support, education. It's a broad range. And again, it would be, if you have anything that is remotely a new upcoming industry, there's a good chance that the BOI would actually cover it.
Right. What are some of the mistakes that you've seen in your experience or heard of that when companies are coming in and applying for BOI? What are some of the common pitfalls or mistakes that we're seeing that are making it a little bit more difficult?
I mean, just to go one step back, I think the biggest mistake we see companies making is not considering BOI in the first place.
Of course, yes.
Or psyching themselves out of it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes what we've seen is a lack of preparation when discussing the concept with the BOI, the first interview round. And because sometimes it's not clear whether a particular business sort of fits in the category that the BOI has published, and there's a degree of latitude that they've got to sort of say yes or no. And we've seen a lot of businesses that can't clearly enunciate what it is that they're actually doing. And so it's important to have someone that can explain in very clear and simple terms what the business is. And when you're looking at the new economy, information, new products, it can be challenging sometimes to explain that to people that have never seen it before. So I think that's where a lot of time and effort should be spent, just clearly distilling what your business is and being able to explain it to the BOI at the first round interview.
So pay the BOI application process and all the potential benefits that come with it, pay it the due respect and the time and the work effort that needs to go into it as well.
There's a large amount of preparation involved. There is a process. There's information that needs to be provided. There are business plans that need to be provided. We've seen, some companies sort of take it personally, thinking, why do I have to give them all this? And the answer is, well, they'd like to see what you're doing. But the most rapidly processed and successful applications that we've seen are ones where the company has been able to very clearly state what it is they're doing, why they're doing it. Thailand wants to see the transfer of know-how. They want to see their workforce upskilled as well. So if you can clearly demonstrate what that involves, that will help the application as well.
So importantly, also seek out the advice, as you mentioned at the beginning. If you're setting up, seeking out legal advice at the beginning, making sure you have a good partner here in Thailand to help you through the process as well.
Look, I think so. I mean, every country has their own public service that has a very different way of looking at things. And I think the way that the public service in Thailand works is very different from the way that the public service in Australia works. And I think there's a fine balance in the amount of information that you want to actually give to them. If you've got reams of product manuals and business descriptions that work well in Australia, and you just sort of give them to the BOI, that might not be the best way forward. So I think there is a balance. Too much information will slow the process down. Not enough information will slow the process down. So it's a bit of a Goldilocks scenario. You want just the right amount, and I think a good advisor can help you with that.
Okay. Not all companies are going to be successful or eligible for BOI. What other options are there?
Beyond the BOI, we would see IEAT. That's the Industrial Estates Authority of Thailand. Right. They operate a number of industrial estates, industrial parks. These are great from a business perspective because they're effectively turnkey operations. They provide utilities, water, everything that you need to run a business. Some of them have, the warehouses or the factories already built. Some of them, you can build your own on site. The land's prepared, roads are already there. So in terms of immediacy, speed to market, they're a very good choice from a commercial perspective. Right. The legal advantages are a little bit like BOI Light. You don't get the income tax exemptions. You don't get the customs duty exemptions. But what you do get is the ability to operate a business as a majority foreign-owned company. You do also get the ability to own land as a majority foreign-owned company if your business is operated on the IEAT. I think one of the other things we like about the IEAT is that they act as a one-stop shop for all the permits that you need. Factory licensing, anything that you might need in the day-to-day operations, they will take care of it for you.
Okay, so look at BOI as the first option. Definitely explore those options, but if it's not an option for you, also consider there might be other pathways that you can go down.
Absolutely.
Great, so the IAT sounds like another good option, but what happens if you can't get IAT either?
Really good question. I mean, if you're not eligible for approval under the Foreign Business Act, if you can't get BOI, if you can't find an IAT site, I think the only avenue for entry would be a joint venture.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people confuse this with a nominee company because the structure looks the same at first sight. You have a Thai partner that holds 51% or more of the shares in the company, and the foreigner has 49% of the shares. And at first blush, it looks the same on paper as a nominee company. But the difference is the Thai joint venture partner is a real company. They have economic substance. They pay for their shares. They have skin in the game. There's risk to their investment. And this can be quite valuable for foreign companies entering Thailand for the first time if they want someone to guide them through the practicalities of commercial life in Thailand, how the market works in Thailand. And that can be invaluable for a number of businesses, just to have someone on the ground that's familiar with a particular area that can provide real business support. So this can work really well. Obviously, the choice of joint venture partner is crucial. Just so there's a lot of research and investigation, and these things don't happen overnight. There's a lot of, I guess, work involved to actually find that partner. And this is where, you know, chambers of commerce can come in really handy, just to find out who's the right company for you. You know, who do you team up with? It's difficult to sort of, you know, just look it up on the internet. I think you need to meet these people face to face, talk to people on the ground that are aware of these companies, you know, whether it's a good fit or not. And again, it's just people that have done this before are probably the best to give you, I guess, guidance or, you know, steerage.
Okay, and be validated by companies who have relationships or are part of chambers of commerce as well.
Absolutely.
So the key advice is to make sure BOI is the first choice. Make sure you investigate, is BOI an option? If not, there are other options like the IEAT or joint ventures as well.
Absolutely.
Good. We're about to wrap up. If you had one final message for our AustCham audience on market entry into Thailand, be it opportunities or things to look out for, what would that be?
I think it's still a very attractive jurisdiction for manufacturing and also for regional headquarters. I think the access to supply chain is excellent. Access to port infrastructure is also excellent and continues to improve.
So Thailand is open and certainly welcome, particularly for AustCham Thailand, particularly for Australian businesses.
Definitely.
Excellent. Chris Osborne, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. I'm sure our members have benefited from this discussion.
Thanks, Brendan.
Welcome back. In our community section today, we welcome one of AustCham's vice presidents and the managing director of 𝗹𝗃𝗀𝗁 Logistics. But Drew Franklin, I think we're here to talk today about something a little bit closer to your heart, the Convoy for Kids.
Yes, we are. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. So Drew, I think a lot of our community here, especially in Thailand, know about Convoy for Kids, but for our audience who aren't familiar with it, can you tell us a bit about the background, the history, and then importantly, how it connects to 𝗹𝗃𝗀𝗁 and the importance to your organisation?
Yeah, sure. It's a charity that's been running since 2000. It was started by a group of logistics companies back then, and over time, 𝗹𝗃𝗀𝗁 have become the major sponsors, and we also do a large part of the organising for it. All the monies raised go to support the Sri Sangwan School, which is a school that helps children with disabilities and other needs that are supported through the school. So it's something that it's a very real charity. So our teams go and take the kids out to away days like Safari World or funds for buying essential things for the school and equipment and other equipment for the children.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Safari World sounds great. What other activities has the kids done over the years?
So last year was Safari World, so that one comes to mind quickly. This year it's going to the Royal Thai Navy Marine or Sea Turtle Conservation Centre. So that's happening in July. So we'll have 60 Linfox and 𝗹𝗶𝘃𝗀𝗁 team members be part of that day, where they'll take the kids out to the convention centre. They'll learn about marine conservation and various other things, but also be part of a sea turtle release in real life. So a fantastic experience for them this year.
Do you know, I went down there a couple of years ago with my daughter's school, where she did the same thing. It is, they get so excited. By the turtles are obviously magical, and to put them out to sea. It's a big centre down there at 𝗪𝗪𝗃𝗃. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I'll need to get out there.
And can you tell us then about the convoy itself? So, particularly for kids, I mean, we all grow up with a fascination for trucks, right? And a convoy of trucks on the road still excites even everyone, the kids inside us. Tell us about the actual convoy that takes the kids down.
Well, I think the original name of the Convoy for Kids was something that was in Australia, which I think was piggybacked off. But it's about, you know, a lot of these kids have disabilities which make mobility challenging and various, you know, other challenges. So we organise buses, so we'll take multiple buses out. I think 150 kids will go out. But then there's also a convoy of trucks which will be following, carrying their, you know, mobility equipment, wheelchairs, various other, you know, support materials that the kids need to have their away day. So it's a big day. It's a full day in terms of starting early in the morning and coming back at night. And we get plenty of other support from, you know, some of our customers and partners as well, supporting with, you know, food and drinks for the day and other various donations we get. But the golf day is a primary the primary
fundraiser.
Yeah, the fundraising activity. So that's where we get the most of the funds that support the day.
Excellent. So let's talk about the golf day. It's coming up on the 28th of August. It's a fundraiser that supports to make the convoy happen. Tell us about the golf day.
Yeah, so as you said, it's on the 28th of August. It's at Phoenix Golf again this year, which was a great host last year. You know, it's supposed to be as inclusive golf day as possible. It's a teams event, so even if you're not a keen golfer, you know, you sort of can bring a high handicap and help out a team of good golfers if you find one. But it's, you know, it's more about, you know, enjoying the day, having some fun and raising some much needed funds for the kids. You know, we've got some fantastic sponsors who have been, you know, involved with us for multiple years. The 𝗹𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 group will be doing some of the food on the course, as well as the Crown Plaza.
Excellent.
You know, both will also be contributing, you know, some prizes in terms of some stays at their venues. We also have the 𝗵𝗺𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 who have been a sponsor. They'll provide a couple of free nights as well for some prizes and some raffles. We've had, you know, Sun and Sand also in Hua Hin and multiple other, you know, vendors of ours, you know, support with, you know, other prizes that are on the day as well.
Excellent. So can you give us some insights into that? Because anyone who's played golf in Thailand know that the courses are beautiful here, and when you do go to one of the huts, you can get a sandwich or a snack or one of the boiled eggs they like to have at the course as well. Lots of drinks available, but I believe if you have something like the 𝗹𝗺𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 Crown Plaza, 𝗵𝗺𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, the offering might be slightly different.
Yeah, it is. Look, I think with the last AustCham Golf Day, which Pullman supported, a friend of mine attended, and the first thing he said was the Pullman providing those pizzas again. So he was very happy to see those.
They were great. I remember the pizzas as well.
And a nice variation at the AustCham Day was the dim sum that the Crowne Plaza provided. So hopefully Evan and his team have something similar lined up for us there. But it'll definitely be a step up from your sandwich and your boiled egg.
Great. And what about overall prizes? Is there best team? Is it a Texas Scramble or a team event?
So it's a 4-ball Texas Scramble team event. So it'll be a team prize, a runner-up prize, etc. And then we'll have some of the other prizes you see on the day for a longest drive and a longest putt, etc. So those who aren't familiar with a 4-ball Texas Scramble, it just means that everyone will hit and you'll choose the best ball, and then you'll hit again and you choose the next ball. So a lot less pressure than playing stroke on your own, or even points on your own. So it's a good way to be involved in a good golf day, but also not have the pressure of having to find your own ball every time.
Right, perfect. How can people get involved then? How do people sign up and get involved in the event?
So look, we'll make sure we'll put a link in the the LinkedIn feed, but they can get in touch with me or Mark Rowley at Linfox, right. Or we've got a website. I think we usually have 4 support us on the day as well, so they've got their app which can support the sign up. So I'll make sure we include a link on this post.
Excellent. Is there a best dress competition as well, or do we just assume that Mark Rowley's going to win that anyway?
Yeah, look, it's a controversial title, is it best dressed or worst dressed? But it's hard to compete with Mark Rowley's shorts and shirts.
Excellent. So the event is Convoy for Kids Charity Golf Day. It's on Friday the 28th of August. The event raises funds to support the Convoy for Kids that 𝗹𝗃𝗀𝗃 and Linfox and the wider group run to take kids down to this year the Royal Thai Navy Sea Turtle Conservation Centre. Yeah, a wonderful place. I have been there despite not being able to say the name, and it'll be a great experience for the kids. So if you'd like to sign up as a team, as a sponsor of course, or as an individual, I'm sure we can put them into a group as well.
Yep.
Contact the link provided or reach out to Drew directly through AustCham. Contact me, I'll pass on his details as well, or look for him at one of the Sundowner events. Drew, look forward to it. It'll be another great event.
Yeah, I hope to see you there.
Thank you. And that's it for our program today. Remember, home is where the community is.